Hey friends, welcome to the Swing My Heart podcast with your hosts, Kristen,
Nicole,
and Hannah. Come join our porch swing conversations.
filled with lots of faith, hope, and heart. Hey Postables, we are back with another episode, and today we will be recapping Lost Without You. Hannah and Kristen couldn't make it today, but we have a very special guest, Cammie from Deliver Me a Podcast. Welcome to the podcast.
Hello, Postables! I am very happy to be here.
We're excited to have you.
Thank you.
Before we start, Cammie, how did you find SST, and how long have you been a Postable?
You know, I can't even remember the year that I found it, but I remember how I found it. It was completely by chance. Trust the timing, right? Luck is the religion of the lazy, because I found it by luck. And so I guess my hand was being guided on the remote or something. But I was flipping through channels, and I went to Hallmark Movies and Mysteries because I had found the Hallmark channel by then. And I said, okay, let's see what's on the Hallmark channel. I bet it'll be good. And I can't remember if I went to Hallmark Channel or Hallmark Movies and Mysteries first, but I landed on Movies and Mysteries, and I saw Eric, and I had seen him in How to Fall in Love. And so I said, oh, it's the guy from How to Fall in Love. Okay, I'll watch this. And it was From Paris with Love, because it showed all of the flashbacks. And so I went, oh, okay, so there's something going on with that guy and the blonde. So and that's how I found it. And I had to kind of catch up with all the backstory, because I didn't know how to find the original movie. I didn't know that a television series existed. I didn't know any of that. So I started watching it from then on, but then I finally went back and I searched it on Amazon, and that's how I found the original movie and the TV series. And so I went back, and that was after I had watched a few more movies. And then I said, oh, that's why they said that. Oh, that's why they said that. Oh, now that makes sense. So but I don't remember the year. I don't. It's become such a part of my life that it feels like it's always been there.
Oh, that's awesome. That's a great story.
Yeah.
We're glad that you're part of the Postables family.
Me too.
Yeah. And you had mentioned Amazon. At that point, I guess Hallmark Movies Now was not a thing. So
no, Hallmark Movies Now did not exist when I was searching it all out. So yeah.
I can't imagine how hard it must have been to find all of the previous movies and episodes.
Once I typed it in on Amazon, it wasn't that hard.
Yeah.
It wasn't that hard, but I don't think that they were on Amazon Prime, so I had to buy them all. But I was like, I don't care. I don't care. I'm paying this money because I'm finding out all of this.
Yes. And it was definitely worth it. So.
Oh, absolutely.
One of the best series ever made on TV, in my opinion.
Agree.
Do we want to get into our recap of this amazing movie? It premiered on September 25th, 2016. It guest stars Jesse Moss as Topper, Luke Rosler as Aiden, Ben Cotton as Paul, and returning in their roles as Papa O'Toole, Gregory Harrison, and Amelia Ullerup as Dale Travis. Oliver's divine delivery theory is put to the test when he and the Postables seem to be unable to deliver the damaged letter from a military veteran that's a matter of life and death. That is a great synopsis for this movie.
There's a little bit more from the Hallmark Channel. Oliver and his father Joe embark on a father-son bonding adventure that ends up putting both their lives at risk.
What could that mean? We will find out. I've only been a postable for a year, so I didn't see the preview for Lost Without You when it first came out. But what were your thoughts when you first saw the preview for this movie?
The preview?
Or like the promotional clip?
Yeah. So when I first saw the preview, not the actual movie.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I didn't think Sandy was a dog.
No, not at all.
I didn't think that until she showed up.
Yeah.
I thought that this was going to stretch everybody because I saw how scary it looked to have Joe and Oliver caught in the mountains, and how the other three and Dale were so worried. And so I knew that that was going to be a tearjerker and a suspense inducing experience.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was I was really, really eager. I was really eager for this movie. And if memory serves me correctly, I was having a party for When Calls the Heart. And I had promised everybody that I would watch it for the first time with them on Monday night. This was before I was podcasting about When Calls the Heart. So I had to do something on Monday morning to get me through so I wouldn't watch When Calls the Heart. So I watched this instead. It was one of the, I can't remember which one it was now, but that happened on one of the times that they premiered on the same night. So
that's awesome. Yeah. And to follow up with that, when you actually watched the movie for your first time, what were your thoughts about it? And what would you rate this movie on a scale of 1 to 10? I know that they're all amazing, but what would you rate Lost Without You?
On a scale of 1 to 10, I would give it an 8.75.
That's a great rating.
Yeah.
I would give it a 9 out of 10. It's definitely up there.
Oh yeah, it's up there.
Top favorites, yeah. So do we want to start off with the letter story?
Let's do it.
Hopper and Sandy. The movie, it starts with a young boy. We find out his name is Aiden. He is looking at a bicycle with his uncle, Topper. Topper asks Aiden to mail his letter for him. Then Aiden leaves for school. You know, he has a bicycle. He takes his bicycle to school. And then Topper starts to walk outside. He hears sirens, and we see this flashback of him being at the U.S. Embassy in Afghanistan. And right away, I knew that that was PTSD.
Yeah.
Which is sad to think that he has been struggling with that.
Yeah, and we don't know how long at this point, but anytime you see someone suffering that much that he can't even step outside. I mean, the way that Jesse Moss played it was so amazing. Just how he was trying to push his foot out the door, but he couldn't do it. It just,
I know. It breaks my heart.
Yeah, it was heart-wrenching.
And Jesse, he did an incredible job in this role.
He sure did.
We also see in this flashback that Topper is calling out to Sandy. We don't know if Sandy is a person or a dog.
We don't know who she is.
I also just noticed this last night for the first time when I was watching, but the shirt that Topper has on in the flashback scene is the one that we see later on. It says "Assume Nothing."
In the flashback scene, he has
like the shirt on? Yeah, like of the war scene. I didn't notice it until just
in the
last
fire.
night. Yeah,
I did not see that. I was so enthralled by the flames.
Yeah, I didn't see it either until last night. Yeah.
Wow.
The next scene with the letter story is after the filming of the USPS commercial, which we will get to a little bit later. But Aiden, rides by on his bicycle. He watches the commercial and then he has a little conversation with Joe. And he asks him if the post office can mail anything.
Okay. I have down in my notes, what?
I know.
I mean, I remember talking about this when we recapped it on Deliver Me a Podcast. And even if you get peanut butter and jelly on it, and a car runs over it, and it gets messed up in your bike chain, like, kid, what are you doing to this letter? I mean, is he smashing the bread over the package and purposefully opening the sandwich and smearing it on? We were talking drops of jelly because you can see through drops of jelly.
I don't know.
All he had to do was mail it at the corner, but somehow peanut butter and jelly got on it. It got run over by a car, and it got ripped up in his bike chain. Oh my gosh!
Oh my gosh! I don't know. And unless you actually place the sandwich on the envelope, there's no way that the peanut butter and jelly could get on.
Not in that degree that it becomes unreadable.
Oh my goodness. I love the look on Joe's face though. He's just thinking, what in the world?
Well, I've seen worse.
Yeah.
The way that I took that line is, I don't know how you can get much worse than that, but I've seen it.
Oh my gosh. The next scene we see after that, they are in the mailbox grill, and the director of the commercial brings Rita and Norman Hopper's letter that was found in the prop mailbox. Mm-hmm. They believe that the address is to Las Vegas, NEV. At this point, they think it's Nevada. But we'll find out later. It's another state.
Oh my gosh. When Norman goes in and Topper's brother yells to him, "Hey, Top, did you mail anything to Nevada?" And he goes, "No." The first time I saw it, I went, "Why did he lie?"
I know, but I thought the same thing the first time. I was like, what?
Why is he lying? There's not anything to do with PTSD. He doesn't have to look at them. Why is he lying? but he wasn't lying.
No, he wasn't lying, no.
He just didn't add, he didn't add, "No, I sent something to New Mexico." He just didn't add that part.
Yeah. There are only 2 Nevada zip codes that end in 01 and only 1 in the Las Vegas area. This was said by Rita with her photographic memory.
Yes.
I love the line from Norman. I have it written down in this scene when he says, "If you want something memorized, she's your girl." And then he stops for a second and he's like, "Actually, she's my girl."
Actually, she's my girl.
I thought that was so cute.
That was precious. It's just, it shows that, because their relationship has been going on for a few movies now. Yeah. And but it's cute because it's something that still is impressed upon him and something that still surprises him.
I agree. I love their
it's just so sweet that he still has those realization moments, like, actually she's my girl. It's just it's one of those cute things that Norman does so well and that Jeff does as Norman so well.
Mm-hmm. So true. Yeah, I love their relationship. So
I don't think there's anybody who couldn't, unless they've got a heart of stone.
I know. Right. We get the Postables and the DLO. They are examining the envelope. It's damaged by tire tread trauma, peanut butter, and grease from a bicycle chain, which we just mentioned.
Why?
Oh my gosh. The zip code suggests that it's from the northeast corner of Las Vegas. It includes a t-shirt that says "Assume Nothing," which we mentioned Topper was wearing in the war scene, along with a 2-page letter. Then Shane goes on to say something, I don't have the line written down, but about how the timing, is not right for this letter because of everything.
It's been too hard of a day.
Yeah, it's been too hard of a day.
They just found out about Eleanor and passports passing on. And so it's been too hard of a day to try to start on a letter that seems impossible.
And Norman says, "Nothing's impossible." Oliver says, "That's a bold statement, Norman." And Norman says, "Yes, and allow me to be a little bolder. Something like this dropping in our laps on a day like today may seem like bad timing, but," and then Rita continues, "but we can't assume anything." And Oliver says, "It's sort of a divine delivery, perhaps." I love Shane's eye roll. She's just like, oh, okay.
Fine.
Shane then goes on to talk about breaking protocol and reading the letter. And then she looks at Oliver and she says, "Unless you would rather go camping." Norman says, "Camping? Oliver doesn't like to live outside." And Rita's like, "Not on purpose.
Not on purpose." I find that a very big foreshadow, because it's funny that she would say not on purpose, but it's very much on accident that Joe and Oliver find themselves in the situation that they are in later in the movie. And Oliver is forced to live outside for longer than he intended. So I find that kind of a eerily funny, very much foreshadowing what's going to happen later in the movie.
Yeah. The letter is a bucket list, and I wrote down a few of the things that were mentioned: watching the sunset, sitting in front of the fire, listening to guitar music, eating Mexican food. And then Shane goes on to say, "There's nothing about Mount Everest or riding in a balloon over Stockholm."
Obviously, she has a bucket list.
Yes. Call forward to the Diello scene in Vows.
Yeah.
I would actually love to see that.
Yeah, I want to see Oliver in an air balloon. I doubt that will ever happen.
It probably won't, but it's fun to dream. Yeah. Maybe they could do a green screen or something with Stalker.
He'll stay on the ground and go, "Hi, honey."
Norman wonders if Eleanor had a bucket list. Then Rita asks Norman if he has one. He said no. And then he says, "Of course I do have a list of buckets."
Oh, Norman. Oh, Norman.
He always has some of the best comedic lines in this series.
And he delivers them so well. Yeah. I mean, who would have a list of buckets? Norman. Norman would have a list of buckets, of course.
Topper isn't asking for anything for himself. He just wants to help Sandy and would do anything to be with her. This line from the letter really gets me teary-eyed every time I watch this movie. He says, "If I could hold her one more time and tell her that I love her, I would, but I'm still not 100% myself." And then he says something else. I don't have the next line written down. And then he says, "Funny how the little things are what we remember."
Oh, I'm sending my favorite t-shirt. She was always stealing it.
Yes, I'm sending my favorite. Yeah, that was the line. Yeah. Shane is going to hack into the t-shirt manufacturer for points of purchase. Norman says he could lift a partial print from the envelope.
How?
And
obviously he can pull a partial print, but out of what? The peanut butter smudges?
Yeah, I don't know how to do all that. Norman is a master at that. So
yeah, but I mean, how are you going to pull a fingerprint with all the junk all over the head?
I don't know. Oh, goodness. He suggests that Dale could run it for them. I love Shane's facial expressions when Oliver agrees to this.
So hard not to be jealous. And when Oliver says he knows the number,
I can sense some jealousy from Shane.
You can sense it? I'm surprised that green lightning bolts aren't coming out of her eyes.
And when Oliver is on the phone with Dale, just the way she like keeps looking at Oliver is hilarious.
Oh man. Like,
should I be worried? Although she has no reason to be worried on Oliver's part.
But she doesn't know that.
No, she doesn't know that. But to all of us, she has no reason to be worried.
Right.
Shane, Rita, and Norman working on finding more clues for the letter. So this is the little short montage that we get of Shane and Norman. They're
smelling,
I think, the t-shirt. Yeah.
They're smelling the t-shirt for the cologne.
Yeah. And then we get a clip of Rita and Norman. They are in town. They're going to all the different small businesses that they have left. I think Rita said something like 200 down, 523 to go. Is, you know, she ripped like up the paper. I thought it was a really cute moment as Norman leaves. He gives her a kiss on the cheek, and then they go on about their day.
Yeah. Gotta stop for those little moments.
Yes, the little moments.
It shows their growth.
Mm-hmm.
It shows how much they have grown as a couple, that they can casually go on like that.
Yeah.
Because there was a time when they couldn't.
Mm-hmm. It's true. We also see another scene where Shane is on the phone with the manufacturer. They do make the t-shirts, but don't do any of the printing or ship to any specialty stores in Nevada. So they've kind of hit a little roadblock in the search.
A big roadblock.
A big roadblock, yeah. We see Oliver at the Colorado State Division of Investigations with Dale. She's trying to help with the letter, but she was unable to be of service with this.
Not enough to go on.
Yeah, not enough to go on. A few scenes after that, Shane and Oliver have a conversation in the DLO. They're coming up empty on the tire track and the brand of cologne on the t-shirt. The t-shirt was manufactured in Ohio, but could have been printed and sold anywhere. There are a few thousand women in Las Vegas named Sandy, Sandra, Alexandra, Alessandra, and Cassandra. Rita and Norman have covered a square mile of small businesses and are coming up with nothing. And Shane says, maybe we found a letter that can't be delivered. Oliver says,
shame on you, Miss McInerney.
I know.
Oliver doesn't say that. I said that.
No. Oliver says, I can't believe this letter found us only to turn out to be unsolvable. I can't accept that.
No, Oliver's not going to accept defeat. Never.
Nope, never in a million years. It's been almost a week, and Shane believes they may be running out of time. So this is as they're going to Eleanor's memorial service. Oliver says, have a little faith, Miss McInerney. The answer's there. We're just not seeing it. Then he says, I feel the t-shirt is still our best clue. They go on talking about the t-shirt a little bit, and Shane says, assume nothing. And then Oliver repeats her. We'll get to a little bit more of that scene when Dale arrives a little bit later. We see Norman go to Paul's bike rental to ask about the letter. And before we see Norman talking to Paul, there's a little scene with Topper and Aiden. Topper tells Aiden that Sandy saved his life many times. Then Aiden asks if she's sick like him, which is sad.
But it's good that Aiden realizes that his uncle is sick, because a lot of children can't grasp PTSD. And so he could see his uncle not going outside as just being a wuss, just being a coward. But he doesn't. He realizes that something bad happened to make his uncle act this way, which is a really important concept, I think. Yeah. Because he would feel ignored. He would feel left out of things. If he didn't have that kind of comprehension.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that Luke played the role of Aiden so well.
Oh, incredibly.
He's a great young actor in the Hallmark world. Norman tells Paul that they're attempting to deliver a parcel that may have been mailed from this area. I love the line from Paul when he says, I'm waiting for some bike seats from Canada. And then
Wrong way, Paul.
Yeah. Norman says, this is the other way around, actually.
Yeah, we need to stay on topic here, Paul.
Yes. Oh my goodness. They buy their stamps online, but haven't mailed anything to Nevada or the 89101 zip code recently. So if they didn't mail anything to Nevada, then where was it supposed to go?
Yeah, but that's something that we know as an audience.
Yeah,
Norman
we know.
Doesn't know it. Did you notice that this is one of the only stories where the topic of the letter has no interaction with the postables?
Yeah.
He never speaks to them. Yeah, he never has any interaction with any one of them. I thought that was really interesting.
I do too. I didn't even notice that until you pointed it out. That's a good point. We see another scene of Rita and Norman walking through town. Norman broke protocol and took Sandy's letter home.
Shame on Norman. He's being bold.
Yes, he's being bold. They've been assuming that the writer is a woman and that the letter got mailed from a house instead of a business. All they have is a letter addressed to Nevada with business postage. Norman tells Rita to read number 4 on the bucket list. It says, I remember the first time I took Sandy out. We went together to that Mexican restaurant at the end of your street, the one with the hottest mole sauce in town. Sandy wouldn't try it, but she couldn't get enough of the tamales. And then Norman says that there's over 300 Mexican restaurants in Las Vegas. The letter was mailed to Las Vegas, New Mexico, not Nevada. I
didn't even know that existed.
I didn't either until I watched this movie. I had no idea there was a Las Vegas, New Mexico.
But they did. And so good for Norman for pointing that out to Rita, that we're assuming it's a V. What if it's half of a W?
Yeah. I also love in this scene when Rita says, you're brilliant, Norman. And then he says, thank you. And then he says after that, here's the bold part. Do you want to go to New Mexico with me? She's like, yes.
He's asking her to go away with him. Run away to New Mexico with me.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, it's not quite that bad, but yes.
No, still cute. We see a scene of Shane working in the DLO, and she's thinking about the cologne and, where the cologne was bought. I also love Shane's outfit in this scene. I thought it was a really cute outfit. The zebra.
Yeah, she looked very, very attractive. And when she's on the phone with Rita, when she and Norman are already in New Mexico, she looked so pretty. Her hair and makeup were so gorgeous, framing her face. And Rita with that reddish pink jacket in the beginning, I was like, man, the wardrobe is really going up. This is great. They look gorgeous.
Yes, they always look great. I love the costumes though in this movie, as well as all the other movies as well.
Of course.
Definitely the best dressed team on Hallmark. We get the scene with Joe and Oliver. They're sitting by the campfire, which we'll talk a little bit more about in a little while. They're talking about the young boy that mailed the letter. Joe said that Aiden had on a team baseball hat that said Kennedy Celtics. So this could be another clue.
It's completely a clue because, just from the conversation, Joe is saying, wait a minute, I know exactly what you're talking about. And it's so cool that Joe is so invested in his son's work, especially after so much time apart. And he is trying to help him. And when Oliver says, I'm sorry to sound dramatic, but this might be a matter of life and death. We need to leave. We'll go first thing in the morning. Joe is just boom, boom, boom. He's so invested in his son's work and he's so wanting to be a part of his life that he is just jumping right in, and he's getting excited about it. This is a FedEx guy. So he used to work for the post office, but now he just retired from FedEx. So, he could be a little blasé about this, but he's not in the slightest. And he gets excited, and he wants to help, and he's picking up on clues. You start to realize, yeah, maybe this could be Oliver's dad, because at first glance you're like, how did that man raise that man?
Yeah, I love it too. It's great to see how enthusiastic he is about Oliver's work. I also love how in this scene, when Oliver says that he needs to call Shane, Joe says, well, you can borrow my phone, but I busted it in the fall.
Yeah, that was a rough fall, because let's
talk about that. Yeah,
let's be a man, but no, you shouldn't be a man with a puncture wound.
Yes, we'll talk a little bit about that in a little while. Rita and Norman arrive in New Mexico. I love when they're walking through the door of the place that, is the welcome center.
You mean the beads that replace the door?
Yeah, the beads.
That Norman can't quite handle?
Yeah. He says, I just don't trust a grocery store with beads for a front door.
It's a different way of life.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen that before this movie. A grocery store with no door.
Oh, a grocery store. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. No, yeah.
I was like, really?
No. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen a grocery store with no actual door, but beads. They hear about all the mole sauces and the peppers. This was funny. I don't have all of them written down, but I do remember the last one that the lady that worked there said she was listing all of the peppers, and then she gets to the last one and she's like, instant insanity. I don't think I could deal with all those peppers. Those sound extremely spicy. I can't do a lot of spicy food.
Well, I have this in my notes, and it's written in all caps, and every word is underlined. Get this man some milk.
Yes.
Get this man some milk. I don't even eat chili. Regular canned chili. I don't even eat chili without a glass of milk nearby, or a glass of milk after the chili, because the milk, it instantly neutralizes the spice. And so if he's having all of this trouble, where's the milk? Get this poor man some milk, end his suffering, or at least lessen his suffering.
I know.
Norman goes through so much, but there's no relief in sight. And over here's Rita. Oh, this is so delicious. Oh gosh.
Yeah. I felt so bad for Norman having to try all of those peppers, or the mole sauce flavors, or the levels of the spiciness of the mole sauce. That one scene, I think it's the second one that they go to, or the second one that we see. Rita says, "You're doing great."
Yeah, no.
Fanning him, and then the one where he runs out the door. That's hilarious.
In slow-mo, and Rita's chasing after him. Yeah,
that would be me.
He can't take it anymore.
I would be the one running out the door.
I would not even be eating these. So
no.
Norman took a step that I would not do.
He was very brave to do that.
Yep. He put his heart and soul into this letter, and his lower intestine. Rita
and Norman deliver the letter to Sandy. So now we know that Sandy is a dog.
Well, now we know.
Which I was not expecting at all.
Yeah, at first I was upset. I'm like, seriously? This is about a dog? But then I kept watching. I'm like, oh, never mind. I stand corrected. There is a reason why this was a dog. Why she was a dog.
Mm-hmm. I also have to say that is a beautiful dog.
Oh yeah, of course she was. And did she look sick to you?
No.
That was that was one thing that was very, very interesting to me. And it kind of threw me off. So I had a hard time with the story. You know, they're talking like Sandy is at the brink of death. And then you see her and she looks pretty perky. You know, I mean, she looks as perky as a puppy. And, you know, she cuddles the t-shirt, but I was like, she doesn't look like she's, and, you know, they talk about it. They say we almost lost her, but she doesn't look like they almost lost her.
No.
So that part was kind of hard for me to follow.
Yeah. I mean, I can tell that she misses Topper, but I mean, she didn't look like she was sick.
Suffering. Yeah.
Suffering. We find out that Sandy is a contract working dog. She does the same job as a combat dog, only she's owned by a company that contracts with the military to send canine units into war zones. The handlers they train are usually former Army or Marines, like Topper. Topper and Sandy were partners. They did incredibly dangerous work searching for explosives and people who make them. Sandy was getting close to uncovering something and somebody tossed a grenade in the embassy. They survived, but both came back with PTSD. And I think Rita is the one that asked, you know, why can't they be together? And
not in the budget.
No, Sandy's caretaker says that they aren't together because Topper was an employee of the company and Sandy was basically considered equipment. Sandy's caretaker mentions that Topper wanted to buy Sandy from the company, but he just doesn't have that kind of money. So Rita and Norman decide to buy Sandy for Topper on behalf of the O'Toole Foundation, which I loved.
Brilliant.
Yes.
It's a very bold move.
Yes.
Because Norman's trying to be bold.
Yes. The last thing we see with the letter story is the reunion between Sandy and Topper, which is beautiful. It always makes me cry.
Yeah.
Every
it gets him outside.
Single time, yeah.
He finally is able to step outside.
Yeah.
It makes me wonder, you know, how much time Jesse and the dog got. Because to do a scene like that, either they had him bond with the dog a little bit, or they covered him in peanut butter or something.
Yeah.
Just like the letter.
Yes.
But yeah, it makes me wonder what either did they have them bond so that they could have that playful cuddling scene, or did they just cover him in something so that she would want to get close to him?
Yeah, such a beautiful reunion and a beautiful way to end the story with Topper and Sandy. Do we want to get into Shane and Oliver and Joe now? And a little bit of Eleanor as well?
Let's do.
Yes. The first scene that we see is the filming of the USPS commercial. And Shane is just, you know, standing by watching. And I love how excited and proud she is of Oliver and Joe as well. I thought that was really cute.
Do you see when Oliver did his part perfectly? Did you see that he was focused on Shane?
Yes, I did. Yeah. It was really cute.
When he was focused on the microphone, or when he was looking around at his surroundings, he couldn't concentrate. But finally, he was talking to Shane and he did it perfectly.
I did notice that. That was really sweet. I love how she gives Oliver the thumbs up before they start recording.
Yeah, you know? You can do this. You can do this.
You can do it.
She's a little over enthusiastic, but I think she's just trying to amp him up.
She's supportive, yeah. I love Joe's line before they start filming. He says, "You're doing great, son." And then Shane says, "I think you really captured the spirit of the American letter writer."
Yeah, that's where she gets a little over enthusiastic, but I think, like I said, I think she's just trying to get his energy up.
Yeah, I love it though. It's cute. Oliver and Joe have a conversation after filming the USPS commercial. Joe says that they should do more stuff together. Joe has been doing a lot of backpacking recently and planning to hit El Dorado Canyon this weekend. He asks Oliver if he's interested. Oliver tells him that he has a date Saturday at Montaldo with Shane. Joe says, "Wow, you're actually calling it a date. Good for you."
It's about time. That's what Oliver's saying. And he is instant. He is instant in his response. Said, "You have a date with Shane. Another time. Go."
Yeah, another time. The next scene that we see is at the Mailbox Grill. Oliver and Joe are having a conversation. Joe tells Oliver that when his mother left, he never imagined that they wouldn't see her again someday. But then she got sick and she was gone. When Joe got the news that she died, he went up to the mountains to watch the sunset and just sat there in the dark for hours until he could find a reason to believe the sunrise was worth waiting for. He decided that if he could just wake up every morning, Oliver would be there. Then we see Shane join them. I love when Shane gets to the table and she asks if she can join them. Both Oliver and Joe stand up. So gentlemanly.
Chivalry is not dead.
No, chivalry is not dead. Shane tells Joe about Oliver's divine delivery theory, as she likes to call it, which is we don't find the dead letters, they find us just in time to be delivered. Joe makes a bet with Oliver. He says, "You prove to me that the next dead letter you come across actually makes some kind of miraculous difference in the world. And if you can't, then you have to let me take you camping before summer is over. If you can prove some providential postal theory, then I'll pick up your dinner tab at Montaldo's."
Which is not cheap.
No, not at all.
It's the nicest restaurant in Denver, they said. So
yeah,
apparently it's and when you get dinner and a show, and dance and a dance floor, that's going to be a pretty pricey place.
Yeah. Joe says that he needs to get going, so he leaves, and Shane and Oliver are still sitting there. She says, "Camping? You?" And then Oliver says, "Our first attempt at dinner was a rather challenging evening, so returning might allow us to get back up on the horse." Then Shane goes on to say after that, "Oliver, for someone who believes in miracles, sometimes you can be so practical."
That's the perfect word for him.
I love the flirty look that Shane gives Oliver.
Oh, she gives the perfect flirty looks. Because, things are starting to blossom finally.
Yeah.
Things are finally starting. These two have the ultimate description of a slow burn. I've never seen anything burn as slowly as these two. Norman and Rita are faster than they are, which you would never think possible. These two set a precedence at a slow burn, and I am so impressed that Eric and Kristen could keep up the chemistry for so long at such a low level and then keep building, because that takes an incredible amount of talent to build it when it is that slow. So
it may have taken a while, but it was worth the wait.
It was worth the wait.
And Eric,
but we're not there yet.
Nope. Eric and Kristen, they knock it out of the park every single time. They're incredible.
Yes, indeed they are.
Of course, Crystal and Jeff are too, but just in this instance that we were talking about, they're amazing. They play their parts so well, and I couldn't imagine anyone else in these roles. Shane sees Oliver holding hands with Dale in her office. I wrote in my notes, "Don't assume, Shane."
Okay, they're obviously praying. I know Shane has very little experience, but come on. Haven't you ever seen somebody pray before? They're holding hands, their eyes are closed, Oliver is talking, she's not. Hello? Get with the picture, honey. Come on.
Oliver has been asked to help with arrangements for Eleanor's memorial on Friday. She attended Oliver's church. Dale knew her too.
I think that kind of gave Shane a little comfort. Like, Eleanor went to your church. Okay. You know,
I was about to say
that's why Dale knows her. Okay, I got it.
I was about to say the same thing.
Oh, there you go.
Great minds think alike.
Absolutely.
Shane and Oliver and Dale walk into church for Eleanor's service. So we talked a little bit about this scene in regards to the letter story earlier, but Dale walks up. She was late because she had a last minute arrest to process that took forever. She asks Oliver if there's been any luck with the letter. Oliver says it's been nothing but dead ends, which rarely happens, but trust the timing. He goes on to say that she is the robe mistress for their choir. I love Shane's line. She says, "Oh, wow. She sings, she arrests people, she's mistress of clothing."
I'm not nearly as interesting as I sound. Dale's trying to be modest here, but that's a very awkward conversation.
Awkward. Eleanor's memorial service. We see the photo of Eleanor. And I also found out not too long after I first found the show that the photo is actually Martha's mother.
Yes, indeed. It's Martha's mommy.
Which is awesome that they included that in this movie.
Of course, Martha's gonna weave everything together, even her own life, right?
Yes. The weaving is incredible, as we've mentioned so many times on this podcast. Norman and Rita's comment about Dale, that was funny. Norman says, "I wonder if she wears her gun underneath her robe." Rita says, "Nah, it's too hard to sing when you're packing."
And she would know this how?
I was about to say that. How does Rita know that?
I think it better not to inquire.
Oliver gives the eulogy, which I thought was really beautiful. I have it written down in my notes. He says, "Good morning, family and friends. As unexpected as Eleanor's departure was, we can take comfort remembering her as a woman of strong faith that traveled through life with the blessed assurance that her passport was eternally valid, stamped, and certified permanent for entrance into the kingdom of God, whenever that day should come. And friends, I know she would want us to take a moment today to really ask ourselves, are we ready to take that journey? She always used to say to me, 'Death is nothing to be scared of, honey, but it is something to prepare for. We bid you farewell, Eleanor. God be with you till we meet again.'"
Aw.
Yeah, such a beautiful message that Oliver gives.
Which he's the king of.
Yes, of course.
The king of speeches.
Yes. Their conversation after Eleanor's service, Shane compliments Oliver and Dale on how well they sound, singing together. Dale says that they've been doing it a very long time. Then Rita goes on to ask if she's coming to the reception. Dale says, "I wish I could, but I have to get back to my crime scene." Shane says, "Oh," and then Rita says, "Oh, kidnapping, arson, murder." Dale says, "Cybercrime. The guy's a hacker." Norman says, "Good thing we don't know any hackers."
Panics. All four of them panic and are desperately trying not to show it.
I know, the way Shane's eyes got really big, oh no.
If she goes any further, then she could catch me.
Oh. Norman says, "Good thing we don't know any hackers." "I don't know any hackers." "Do you know any hackers?" "Nope." "Nope." Dale says, "Good. That's good."
She's completely lost. Poor thing.
I love how they're just all looking at each other trying not to laugh, but showing
trying
emotion.
Not to laugh, trying not to panic, trying not to give anything away.
Dale goes on to tell Oliver not to forget to talk about the thing, and Oliver says, "Oh yes, the thing, of course." Rita says, "There's a thing?" Then Shane says, just so you know, I intend to hack away until kingdom come if that's what it's going to take to find Sandy before it's too late.
So obviously that conversation did not scare her enough to make her stop.
Oliver mentions to Shane and Rita and Norman that a memorial fund has been established in Eleanor's name, and Dale thought that Oliver should bring it up with the board of the O'Toole Foundation. After Norman says that there's plenty of money in the account to make a donation, then, he says, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Oliver asks Shane if she will be at the reception, and, she says that she'll be right behind him, but, she just needs a moment. Then Oliver goes to walk out of the church, and he turns around. He says, Miss McInerney, Dale Travers is my friend.
They both say that.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Oliver and Dale both say it. And at moments when Shane is doubting both of them, it's it's very interesting timing, if you'll pardon the pun, but it's just it's really interesting how there seems to be something going on a little bit between Oliver and Dale, but not enough that they knew each other for 16 years and couldn't date.
Yeah.
Why? But they are both very apt to tell Shane that they're each other's friend. So, Dale knows what's going on, and Oliver is slowly getting the picture. So
yeah,
they'll get there.
Yeah. The Postables, they have a conversation about Eleanor at the mailbox grill. Norman says something. He says, remember how Eleanor's blender always used to get stuck on frappe? And then Shane goes on to say that she was going to give her the recipe for her bee pollen, ginger, and kombucha smoothie.
Not kombucha?
Nope, kombucha. She says, quoting what Eleanor told her, come on up to Passports, she'd say. We'll do some blending. But I waited too long. I missed my chance.
She's starting to realize that time is not something to be wasted. And she already had that realization in the pilot with her father.
Yeah.
So it's, that's what happens. We have these emotional and traumatic experiences, and then if we get over them, then life goes back to normal, and then something else happens and we realize, we still have to remember that life is fragile.
Yeah, exactly. I love the next line from Oliver after Rita and Norman leave, and they're making plans for their date the following night. He says, what time shall I collect you at your home tomorrow night? I can be there by 7. I love how he says, what time shall I collect you? That always
He's Oliver.
It's cute though. That was a really sweet way to ask.
Yeah, it's very cute, and it's very Oliver.
Very Oliver, yeah. Shane and Oliver, they have a conversation in the DLO. This is when she gives up her date with Oliver so that he can spend time with his dad, which I loved. It was really selfless.
Yeah, very selfless, and she gets it. That's the big thing. She gets it. She gets how important this is, and she gets that they need to take the time while they have it.
Yeah.
And she gets that she didn't get that time with her dad. So she doesn't want that to happen to Oliver. And now they're speaking again. And so we are going to jump right in on that.
Yep. I love the line when she gives her dad's camping gear to him. He says, you're sending me to camp?
And she just happens to have her dad's camping gear.
Yeah. A few minutes after that, or a few seconds after that, Oliver says, Miss McInerney, what about our dinner? And Shane says, Oliver, don't worry. I'm not going to go back to Montage without you. And then he says, I can't leave. What about Sandy? You said this letter had a destiny. Do you believe that or no? Yes, of course. But I promise you, I will spend the weekend doing whatever I can to do whatever you would do. I promise. And Oliver says, I don't know what to say. Then he says, what is kombucha? Then Shane says, kombucha. Then she says, let's just say it's the opposite of yoo-hoo.
That's a good way of putting it.
The complete opposite of yoo-hoo.
Complete opposite.
Yeah. Oliver and Joe leave for their camping trip. Oliver says that he feels a little overdressed. Joe says, bears don't care what you wear. Should I be worried about bears? Nah, worry about the mountain lions.
It's the mountain lions.
We see Oliver and Joe's camping trip. Joe once bought Oliver a record album, Bird Songs of the Rocky Mountains. He still has it to this day. Oliver recognizes the trail that they were on, and he wants to know if he'd been there before. And we see Joe fall on the log and get a puncture wound. This is hard to watch, I must admit.
Well, because we know it's going to be big. We know that it's going to be a catastrophic part of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to cause the conflict, because that wouldn't happen unless.
Yeah.
That wouldn't happen unless it was part of an important part of the movie.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Still hard to watch though.
Oh, it's very hard to watch.
I cringe every time he falls. Like, ow, that must hurt.
And right in the side too. Ow.
Uh-huh. They have a conversation by the campfire, which we talked a little bit about earlier with the letter story.
Yeah.
Joe wants to learn Italian, go to Europe, take scuba diving lessons, plant his own vegetable garden, practice his guitar, and spend time with Oliver. We see Oliver enjoying his morning coffee by the lake. And, Oliver stands up and he goes to wake Joe up because he missed the sunrise.
Which is odd for Joe, because that was one of the reasons he wanted to go.
Uh-huh. So we know by now that Joe is sick. I have to admit, the first time I watched this, it kind of scared me when Joe didn't respond at first.
Oh, you thought that he was already unconscious.
Yeah.
Mm.
They have a conversation while sitting on the log. So this is when they're, trying to find their way back home. This is one of my favorite Oliver and Joe scenes. And
well, this is where it gets scary.
Mm-hmm.
Because Oliver has to carry everything because his dad can't handle it. Mm-hmm. His dad is leaning on a big stick trying to keep himself upright. And then he is completely disoriented and has no idea where he is. And obviously Oliver doesn't know where he is. And so this is where things get scary.
Yeah. I love the conversation, though, that they have about his mother. And Joe says that he has been in those woods before when he was 7 or 8. He kept begging him and his mother to take him hiking in the mountains. He loved the freedom and the birds and kept running out ahead of them to protect them from the bears. He ran out so far ahead that they lost him. They started calling out and they panicked. Oliver's mother blamed Joe. Joe blamed her, and they got in a fight, which was not their first one. They said some awful stuff. Then they looked around, and there Oliver was standing there absolutely brokenhearted. Joe could never get Oliver to come back to the mountains after that. He was so afraid that Joe and his mother would start fighting again. Joe also says that Oliver asked him if there was a way to go to the forest without actually going to the forest. His mother left him a few weeks later. It wasn't Joe's fault and it wasn't Oliver's fault, but all these years Oliver believed it was. He lost a lot of time and missed a lot of love. Joe says, don't wait for the pain to go away, Ollie. Just leave it here on the mountain and go back and start over.
Wise words from somebody who's lived a lot.
Yes, that's one of my favorite lines in this movie.
Yeah.
This is when it gets really scary. They stand up to leave and go home, but they are right back where they started. And Joe didn't tell anyone where they were going. And
neither did Oliver. So They are stuck.
Yep. The tension is rising. Shane arrives at the DLO. Oliver's not there. She calls, but there's no response. We see Oliver taking care of Joe.
Trying to, at least,
yeah.
With his minimal medical knowledge.
Oh, goodness. I have to say, Eric and Gregory knocked it out of the park with these scenes.
Mm-hmm.
Incredible. My heart just breaks for both of them.
Well, and it was really interesting that Joe's brain, when he was going delirious, Joe's brain went back to that moment, trying to tell Oliver that it's okay. Mom and I argue sometimes. You go have fun. That's the one moment that his brain picked to reassuring Oliver, trying to smooth things over. Even when he's delirious, he can't stop being a dad. It's just, it's a sweet moment.
It is. I agree. Shane and Dale have a conversation at Joe's. So by now, Shane has called Dale for help because, she doesn't know what else to do. They have a conversation, and Shane wants to know if her and Oliver were ever in a relationship. Yeah. And Dale says that the timing was never right.
It's baloney. I mean, he was only married to Holly for about 3.5 years, and he's known Dale for 16. Yeah.
Dale goes on to quote the Bible verse, "To everything there is a season, a time to be born and a time to die." Then Shane asks, if God has everything all figured out, then what's the point in praying for anything? Dale says, "I don't pray to change God. I pray to change me." One of the best lines. Yep. And in the canon, in my opinion.
One of the best lines in the whole thing. It was great.
Yep. This next scene makes me cry every single time when Shane calls Rita and informs her that Oliver and Joe never came back from their camping trip. And Shane says that she's scared. Rita says, "Just hang in there and pray." Shane says, "I don't know how."
I don't know how.
Then Dale approaches her and says, "You okay?" And Shane says, "I don't know if I can bear it, if anything." She can't even finish the sentence.
No, she can't. If she says it out loud, it makes it real. She can't do that. She can't bring herself to say it because then it might become real. It might happen.
Yeah. My heart breaks for Shane every single time I watch this scene.
But Norman and Rita come and save the day.
Yes, with Sandy. Sandy finds Oliver, after their all-night search. I love the reunion between Norman and Oliver. That was really sweet.
It's very, very sweet. And it brings out the brotherly bond, if only for a second.
Yeah.
Because we got Dad back there to worry about. So we have that hug, and then he's very quick to say, "Over here, please." I can't help him.
Yeah. It was really sweet. Oliver and Joe, they get to the hospital, and the nurse says that he was about an hour away from sepsis.
Which is terrifying.
Yeah. And she goes on to say that he was very lucky, and Joe responds by saying something like, "You see that? I'm lucky." And then Oliver says, "Luck is the religion of the lazy."
That's one of his mantras that he's used before.
Yeah. He goes on to tell Joe about the timing of the delivery of the letter and Sandy finding them.
I still think that Oliver should have let Joe pay the tab.
Yeah.
The theory was proved right. So let him recover first. Let him recover first, and then let him keep his word.
Yeah. Oliver says after that the nurse told him that Shane and Dale are waiting. Joe says,
"Good luck with that."
Yeah, I was about to say that. Joe says, "Shane and Dale, good luck with that. Something tells me you'll know what to say."
He knows his son knows what to say, but he also knows that this is going to be a really difficult thing for him to do. And he can't go with him.
Yeah.
He can't go with him. He has to stay in that bed. So all he can do is give him a good luck.
Yep. As Oliver is walking out of the hospital room, he turns to Joe and says, "Dad, there's been too much leaving in this family. Let's not do that anymore." And then, Joe agrees.
No more leaving.
No more leaving. We see the short conversation between Oliver and Dale,
where she becomes resigned to the fact that she and Oliver are not meant to be.
Nope. He says, "Thank you for everything." Dale says, "I wish I could take the credit. Shane made the call." Then he
Which
says,
was a big, huge thing for Dale to
Dale,
do.
yeah.
Because she's the cop. She's the one who led the investigation. She could have easily taken the credit, but she didn't.
No, Shane was the one. And I really appreciated that Martha wrote it that way.
Yeah, that Martha wrote it that way, and that, within the story, that Dale had that integrity. Because somebody more petty, somebody more jealous and manipulative would have completely taken that on themselves. And she didn't.
No, she didn't. Oliver heads to the chapel, but he's not expecting to find Shane there.
Well, I mean, I think someone told him that she was in the chapel. Otherwise, he wouldn't have gone there. But it's the last place he expected to find her.
Yeah, that's what I meant. And so it goes just playing, and he walks in and walks up to the pew where she's sitting. And he says, "I certainly didn't expect to find you in here." Shane says, "Neither did I. I was just so grateful." Oliver says, "When I was up on that mountain, I was so afraid. I was afraid I was going to lose my dad, afraid that I might not get off the mountain, afraid that I had waited too long to start my life over. Every woman in my life who truly mattered has broken my heart. Last night, when I thought I might not see the sunrise, I started to pray. I prayed for the chance to live long enough to be here right now to tell you that I hope our first date isn't our last, that life is too short to only drink Yoo-hoo, and I'm ready to try a bee pollen and ginger and kombucha smoothie." It's kombucha. Then Oliver says, "Kombucha. I'm also ready to tell you that I know you don't believe in miracles." She says, "You would be surprised when I'm starting to believe." And can we just talk about that kiss on the hand? Like,
sweep me up off the floor because I'm in pieces. I need a mop. Where's Jess? Clean up on aisle C. I need a mop. Jess.
I know.
Jess, where are you?
We need you, Jess. Like, that was no ordinary kiss on the hand. That was like,
oh no, that was a long kiss on the hand. And then the second he's done kissing her hand, he puts it straight to his chest.
I know.
It's like, how hard is your heart beating right now, Oliver?
He says, "Thank you for saving my life," and not just from the trip.
There are so many emotions behind that kiss and that thank you. I mean, there's gratitude, there's pure friendship love.
Yeah.
There is, "I am falling in love with you" love.
Yeah.
There is, I think, apology.
Yeah.
I mean, there are so many. I think there's relief. There are so many emotions, and within that one kiss on the hand, it's not even an actual kiss. It's just a kiss on the hand.
Yeah. Yes. Then we see Shane lean her head on Oliver's shoulder, and then Oliver leans his head against hers, and the scene cuts, and the movie is finished
on a very sweet note.
Yes. Are there any more scenes with Rita and Norman that we want to briefly talk about before we start to wrap up?
I think the scene where they are driving in the car.
Yep. That was a sweet one.
Just, and with the hallelujah in the background.
Yeah, that was a beautiful one.
This is kind of a sacred moment for everybody involved. And just them racing in the car through the night, trying to get to Shane as fast as they can, because they know that she needs them and they want to be there to do what they can to help Oliver. And it turns out that they had the tool to find Oliver. So that's just a really sweet scene right there.
Yeah, that was one of my favorites in the movie. This was a comedic scene. It was right at the beginning when Norman is talking to the director of the commercial. You know, he walks up to him and he says, "Your receptacle is anachronistic." And he says, "My what is what?" Norman says the mailbox that you've got, it hasn't been in use since 1997. And that pen that Oliver's wearing, it was discontinued in 2014.
Oh, a whole 2 years ago. What are we going to do?
And in 1848, the Postal Service, who are you? I'm Norman Dorman. I'm a student of U.S. postal history. And
he won't take credit. He won't consider himself an expert. He says, I'm a student of postal history, which, it's like the artists who can't call themselves an artist.
Yeah.
He's an expert who can't call himself an expert.
Yeah. Their conversation at the Prairie Dog Motel. Norman brings Rita the key for her room at the motel. And she says, Norman, you don't mind that we aren't. Norman says, oh, Rita, no, there is a time and a place to think big and be bold. And it is definitely not in Las Vegas, either of them. And Rita says, I knew you would say that.
Perfect way to cover a very sensitive topic.
Yes. Yeah, I was about to say that. That was a very classy way to address that topic.
And it put both of their minds at ease.
Exactly. Yeah. I love their conversation on the way back to Denver. This was before Shane had called them. And Rita says that she'll go to Washington with him if he takes the job.
Yeah. And that takes a whole lot of stress off of Norman.
Yeah.
Because she's not going to let him go.
Nope. Not at all.
Which is a lot healthier than a lot of relationships we see on the Hallmark channel.
Yes. Norman is staying at the DLO and he's not taking the job in DC. So he's staying right where he is.
Because what would the DLO be without Norman? They'd be lost without him.
They'd be lost without him. I was about to say. Were there any lessons that you learned from this movie that you want to share?
Assume nothing.
Assume nothing, yeah.
Which is something that so many people do so very often. I mean, how many misunderstandings do we see in fiction and in life because people assume things?
Exactly. Yeah.
It's bad. And then the just the age old adage of you never know.
Yeah.
You never know what's going to happen. So treat each day as if it was your last.
Yeah. Think big, be bold.
And the power of prayer does do something. It is real.
Yes, exactly. That's a great one too. Trust God's timing is another.
Not just trust the timing, but trust God's timing.
The last one I have is I don't pray to change God. I pray to change me.
Profound. And Dale gets it.
Exactly. We have some trivia to wrap up this recap. Do you want to go first or do you
you first? I insist.
Okay. My first question is, what did Norman say was Eleanor's costume for last year's Halloween party? A, Susan B. Anthony. B, Charles Lindbergh delivering the mail to Paris. C, Marie Curie. Or D, Jane Austen.
Well, it's not Jane Austen. Was it Charles Lindbergh?
Yes. Ding, 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 ding. You got it right.
Yay.
How many small businesses did Rita say are in the University Hill area that the letter could have been mailed from? A, 734. B, 725. C, 800. Or D, 650.
A.
Yes. Ding, 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 ding. Got another one.
Yay.
According to Norman, what is the population of Las Vegas, New Mexico? A, 20,000, B, 8,000, C, 17,000, or D, 13,000?
C?
Nope.
What?
13,000. So D. You were close.
I almost said it too.
Yeah. My last question is, what percentage of New Mexico is covered by forest? A, 48%.
I have no earthly idea, so just tell me.
It's B, 25%.
Check. Yeah, would not have been able to get that.
That's okay.
All right. According to this movie, because it changes, According to this movie, since what year has an O'Toole been delivering mail?
Okay, I know it's on the tip of my tongue. I think this was a trivia question I had in a previous recap. Give me a second. Okay, you know what? No, you got me. I forgot.
1789.
1789. Oh, I think that was the trivia question I had. You got me.
I gotcha. So you said how many businesses were there? How many businesses would Rita and Norman each have to cover in 2 days in order to reach them all?
Oh, goodness. I think you got me again, so I'm just going to guess the number. Is it 170?
You're very close. It's 100. It's 185.
Oh, I was 15
You were 15 away. All right, last one. Name one of the peppers besides instant insanity.
Oh gosh. Was there one called the Carolina Brain Burner?
Oh, Caroline. Yes.
Caroline
Brain Burners. Okay, I'll give you that one. Yay, you got it.
Yay, I got 1 out of 3. Good job, though. Those were great questions.
Mine weren't multiple choice, so
that's all right. No big deal. It's more fun when they're not multiple choice because you have to think harder about them. Well, this was so much fun. Thank you for joining, Cammie.
Thanks for having me.
We hope to have you back on again sometime.
I guess we better just trust the timing.
Trust the timing. Exactly. Well, thank you so much, Postables, for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed our recap of Lost Without You. We will be back next week to recap Higher Ground. We hope you have a great day or night wherever you are in the world, and we will see you next time. We love y'all. Bye.
Bye, Postables.